That we are going to talk is the right time, because as we see that the compliance is increasing from CMS, DOJ, OIG. What can vendors bring to you that should make you feel much more comfortable with the implementation of the right AI as well as the right solutions? So we'll be talking about that. This is something that is very close to my heart. I've been working on AI, starting with NLP to agentic AI to Neuro-Symbolic AI since 2009. Two companies, one was in medical coding on the fee-for-service side, and then after a successful exit got into risk adjustment. Blessed with amazing people, amazing support. We are funded by Microsoft M12, recently with UPMC, and a new announcement, a third investor coming in within the next 2 days. So thank you so much for taking the time to meet with us, and I have with me the pleasure and honor to be talking alongside Dr. Towers.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming. I'm going to make this very short. I'm a doctor. I'm a geriatrician. That's my claim to fame, but I have a very big interest in risk adjustment. I work for UPMC, and I'll tell you more about UPMC at my time. But go ahead. Do you want to use the podium?
Yeah, I'll get to the podium.
Yeah, up there.
Is this okay?
Yep.
Okay. How do I switch the slide?
Here.
The clicker?
Yeah, there you go.
Okay. And okay. Yeah, so I think we went through a quick introduction. The topics, very important, what you should be looking forward to learning today. And I believe that this is the time where we need to shift, or at least have a different view on how we look at accuracy or defensibility. And I want to differentiate between what is accuracy, what is defensibility, and why we should consider both going forward. A lot of you have been involved with AI, a lot of bombardment on different types of AI, particularly natural language processing. But the new ones, the large language models, LLMs, or generative AI, or agents, or agentic AI, RAG, to neuro-symbolic. So I'll showcase or try to explain what these differences are and why one is better than the other. Very, very important is, I'm a Six Sigma black belt, and so my focus always has been taking care of quality at the source. And the source is the provider documentation. So whatever the documentation is, if that is accurate, complete, specific, prompt, all the codes will be accurate. It will reflect what was provided to the patient, and it should be both compliant as well as should not leave money on the table. We'll talk about that. And the final is when you are selecting a risk adjustment vendor, what are the key strategic considerations you should look at? Very briefly, we'll go over that. If you have a pressing question, please feel free to jump up. We can absolutely go with your questions, but if it can wait, we'll wait till the end. So, very new concept about going from accuracy to defensibility. What I mean by that. If you look at risk adjustment and value-based care, in my understanding, the true spirit of value-based care has always been providing the right care to the right person at the right time with the right person, means the provider, credentialed provider, at the right cost. If we do this, the health of population will improve. Everybody has to die, don't get me wrong, but
I don't usually like to tell people that.
But we can definitely lessen the pain. We can definitely make sure that people are cared for, and that impacts both the patient's well-being, the family's well-being, as well as the cost of care. However, while doing it, there are two imperatives which are sometimes spoken in different orders, but both are super important. Whoever is providing, what is this?
Yeah, a little further away.
whoever is providing the care, whether it's a provider or the health plan which needs to get reimbursed, we want to make sure, or they want to make sure, that they are not leaving money on the table. It's very important. Let's not put it behind the curtains. It is important. We all work to get paid. So let's make sure we get paid appropriately. But at the same time, I don't know of any, and I don't even think that most of the people want to scam the system. I think they are making mistakes, or they may be making mistakes. They may be under some assumptions, but they do get into compliance issues. But every health plan that I know of, every provider I know of, wants to make sure that they are compliant. So these are the three very simple things. And if you can document properly, what you end up is making sure that every code that you submit is defensible, not accurate. I'll get into it in a minute. And every code that you submit or don't submit is something, or you do not submit any code that you cannot defend. Very simple, right? Now, those of us who have worked with medical coders, tell me one medical coder you know or who you have worked with will say that I'm not accurate. Anybody knows a coder like that? No. Every coder is the best coder on the planet, right? Every coder is 100% accurate. So we have been doing experiments for years. We took a multiple of documents and gave the same documents to 3 different coders. Coder 1, 10 years of experience. 2, 11 years. 3, 8 years. All of them at the top of their game. When they gave us the codes back, they said, yep, they are very accurate. We gave them ample time. It wasn't time constrained. When you take the code submitted by coder 1 and compared it to coder 2, we saw that they were at about 80% agreement rate. 20% of the ICD codes were not matching up. Now, subtle differences. It wasn't like night and day, but there were subtle differences. When you look at the comparison of coder 2 and 3, we saw about 78%, 79% agreement rate. And coders 3 and coder 1 was about 72%. So who do you call is accurate now? Okay, so we augmented their game by giving them an AI tool, the NLP-based or any AI tool. And then we told them, go code with different charts, obviously, and the charts were anywhere from 60 to 200 pages. And we said, go code it, the same coders. What we found is now all of them were coding more accurately. I'm using the word accurate over here. And the difference between 1 and 2 was still about 9%. They were at 91% agreement. 2 and 3 were at maybe 90%, 10% disagreement. And 3 and 1 were about 89%, 11%, about 11, 12% disagreement. So again, will you submit a code that you believe is 90% accurate? No. No, you won't. Then who is accurate? Because each coder thinks they are accurate. So is there an objective accuracy? I don't think so. I think we need to shift or add to our understanding from accuracy to defensibility. So what is defensibility? Why bring in a new term of defensibility? Defensibility means that any code that is surfaced can be defended through logic, through rules, through things that are mandated by the government. So let's say you make sure the code is coming from a valid documentation. It is coming from the valid section. It was coded, or the provider who gave the services are credentialed providers. They were given at the right point of care, at the right location. And very, very importantly, they did all the right things which can be captured in a meet criteria. And it meets the CMS guidelines as well as the customer's guidelines. So if we surface a code and we can prove that yes, this code was from the right document, right provider, it meets this CMS guidelines, it meets this guidelines of the customer, then there is no ambiguity. There is no discussion. You are able to defend a code. In our experience, we have seen codes, even though we are able to defend, and we have our best coder, Wanda, over here, she can vouch for it, sometimes there is still ambiguity, there is still subjectivity that comes to play. Because there are no guidelines that is covering 100%. In those cases, we need to go back to CMS and tell us, help us, because we don't want to be out of compliance. So that is, oops.
Do you want to use this instead?
Too much excitement. Yeah, I think so. I think
yeah.
this, hello. Hello, yeah. So this is better, thank you. So that is the subtle difference between accuracy and defensibility. So one of the things that I'm pushing, at least my team and trying to convince my customers, is please don't just look at accuracy. See if there are codes that you can defend without any debate on it. So, in accuracy, you will ask the question, if I code it as a coder, will another coder concur? Yes, 80% or 70% of the time they will, but what about the remaining? While in defensibility is, will it withstand an audit? It's more objective. The subjectivity is removed, or at least we try to remove it, right? The measurement of coder accuracy is inter-coder agreement rate. It's a statistical term. And while on measurement, it is alignment. Does it align and meet the guidelines that you have been supplied? It's black and white, comparatively. Audit survival, variable. It might not, and that is why a lot of health plans are being scrutinized. I am of the strong opinion, 99.9% of people on the planet are good people. They have no intention of scamming the system, but it is the subjective nature, the inconsistencies that cause the problems to creep in. But if you move away from that subjectivity and take the burden off the coder, you can get into objectivity. Justification, a lot opinion-based, and we have seen that amongst coder. Even with our customers, we go and give them a code, they would say no, we would have a discussion, and we would reach a consensus, what is acceptable, what is not. And that usually leads to changes in the guidelines that were provided to us. Okay. Any questions so far? Okay. Now, I'll go into a bit deeper technology aspect because technology is changing. I used to use the word technology is evolving, but it is not. It is mutating. The speed with which technology is changing is unbelievable. And, just look at 3 years ago, 2 years ago, ChatGPT. Nobody had heard about it. Now we cannot live without ChatGPT, right? So, NLP, which is very well known in medical coding so far, all right, natural language processing, and we have been doing it, particularly me and my company started the NLP journey in 2009, way early. We were even before Google and Amazon started its NLP journey. So we started that, we know the pros and cons of NLP, but it is more of a very small window of context. It looks at a line, maybe a sentence, at best a paragraph. And then it tries to find context within that. It puts some in the memory and looks for other contexts elsewhere. But what it does is, if a term is mentioned from the right section, from the right place, then it tries to crosswalk to a code. It may look into the grammatical and the syntactic structure, whether it's a present tense, past tense, whether it's negation or an assumption. It does all of those through grammar, but that's about it. While when you look at Neuro-Symbolic AI, it is way different. We are now talking about a much larger context window. The example I try to use is, there used to be this 1.5-inch TVs in the past on a small, portable TV. Those of you are as old as I am will remember that, So you are looking at a TV that size in NLP. Well, if anybody or any one of you has been to the Sphere in Las Vegas, the 360-degree view, that is a Neuro-Symbolic AI. You have that level of view in Neuro-Symbolic. So it not only looks at that, but it is aware of the context and the surrounding, and it is able to pull out everything that you need. No amount, we have tried it, means we are not new to NLP, we tried everything, but no amount of tuning is going to get you to that level of depth. Neuro-Symbolic, 2 words. Neuro is the neural networks, which are the large language models. This gives you the creativity. So in case of coding, those who know the word recall. Neural networks bring the recall. So we are able to collect all the potential codes in a document, and we let it hallucinate. We let it go nuts. So just to give you an example, if there's a sentence that says the patient is 5 feet 4 inches, 225 pounds, the neural networks will understand this person is obese, and then it lists all the codes that can be related to obesity. So it does, like, it pulls out all the codes, high recall. And then you use the knowledge graphs, which is the deterministic models, to narrow it down, to filter out which codes really should be there and which should not be there. So when you combine the two, you are ensuring no codes are left behind and no codes which cannot be defended are presented. That is the power of Neuro-Symbolic AI. So these are agentic AIs, like it's on steroids. In our case, we run multiple agents, north of 8 agents. And the first agent throws out a wide net to collect all the codes. You know, that is what Dr. Towers told me, that this will be helpful. Wide net. So if we are going to throw a net in the ocean and collect, let's say we want to catch a particular kind of fish. In that case, when you throw out the net, it collects everything, all kinds of fish, she cells, everything. But then you filter it so that everything goes away except the kind of fish you need to keep. That is the symbolic logic. When you combine it, you get Neuro-Symbolic AI. Now, the LLMs are changing very quickly, so you need to have a pipeline to make sure you are using the right models, you are doing the right evaluations, all of that. But the symbolic is the IP that a company creates over years. This is the knowledge represented of a doctor, of a coder, of a code book, of a guideline in symbolic representation. So again, anybody who wants to learn, please do meet with me after the talk. Very simple example, I'm not a clinician, Dr. Towers can do a far better job, but so that I understand, my team put together this. There was a patient who had breast cancer, and the mastectomy was completed. But there was one line, everything was properly documented. In one line it said, surgical scars are healing well. That is it. NLP picked up the patient as a breast cancer and coded it. But Neuro-Symbolic was able to pick up that, hey, if the scars are healing well, that means it has already happened, and if the mastectomy is completed, the breast cancer is not present anymore. So it was able to defend why it did not code. While if you had coded it, again, a red flag on OIG, particularly on cancer, would go up. So again, Neuro-Symbolic is changing the game, at least for us. Even we have seen the coder satisfaction. We have coders who work on our technology and who had worked on NLP. We have seen that the mental pressure of a coder is very high, and the more the number of pages, let's say in addition to your PCP reports, you are also putting in specialty reports, or you are bringing in inpatient records, the coders are really stressed out because they have to look at every page, every date of service, everything, and they might miss out something. With Neuro-Symbolic, the mental load is much lower. They are at ease because whatever is presented to them is fully evidence-based. NLP can act, and even large language models can act as a black box, while Neuro-Symbolic is complete glass box. Everything is explainable and defensible. And I'll use the word defensible more, but I'll also be using accuracy when needed. And the speed is significantly faster because all the codes that do not need to be shown multiple times can be suppressed. All the trumping that has to happen from one 𝘁𝗔𝐶 to the other can happen automatically. But it is not happening at the whim of a person or a whim of the AI. It is truly based on statistics. And if the coder does not like something, the second best code is shown to the coder. So it's not that we are not showing all the codes. We are analyzing all the potential codes, narrowing down, and only showing those which have got even enough evidences for the coder to approve. These numbers are something that are truly, who have dealt with precision and recall and F scores would appreciate it. the AI accuracy out of the box, and we started doing NLP since 2009. We sunset in sometime early to middle part of 2025. Our out of the box, which is completely new data sent by our NLP, used to be about 71, maybe 75% accuracy. With Neuro-Symbolic, our out of the box accuracy is hovering at 92%. What used to take us 30 to 40 minutes to code a chart, we are absolutely knocking it out in less than 8 minutes, with the goal to complete it in less than 4 minutes. We are seeing 5x the productivity. So all of us who have been worried about finding good coders, making sure that they are properly trained on our guidelines and everything, that worry, it's not about the people, but finding the right people, finding them and training them and making them consistent is very difficult. With this, we can augment and make the coders work at the top of their license. And we are seeing overall, the cost of technology has gone up because of the neural networks and the large language models, but the total cost to code a chart has dropped by about 40%. These are real customer data that we have seen, and I'm just presenting 5 different customers. You look at the recall value, the very last row. The recall is hovering anywhere from 96 to 99%. That means we are able to catch almost everything, all the fish that we wanted to catch. Now this is very typical even with natural language processing. With keywords you can catch all the codes, not difficult. The real magic is in the precision. Means what you caught, and when you filter it out, is it really true? And there we are hovering anywhere from 89% to 91%. And when you do the F score, F1 score is nothing but a harmonic mean of precision and recall, so you come up with a single number. 94, 93, 93.5, 95.3, 93.5. This is AI accuracy. When we put now a human in the loop to validate it, our accuracies go way over 98, 99, 99.5%. That means you are accuracy, I use the word accuracy, but more importantly, it becomes defensible. So the key point I want to drive over here for a lot of healthcare leaders is it is time to look into newer technologies. It is time for you to come up with newer paradigms that accuracy may not be the only word. It is time for you to question the status quo on NLP. So, any questions so far? Yes, please.
So when you establish the system,
I have this one.
Very, 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 very valid question. So that entire premise of getting customers' data to train your AI, those days are far gone now. What you do is you have the large language models which are available. So those are improving day by day. So you'll take ChatGPT or Gemini or Perplexity or Cloud, any of those models. We obviously run on everything. We want to focus on what is best on that particular day because these models are changing every week, right? So that is done. The second piece are the symbolic representation. That is highly curated, highly proprietary information of any company because that is what we have developed since 2009 until now. Every piece of knowledge that we can lay our hands on is curated properly and applied. And now we have automated that to make sure that that knowledge keeps on increasing. So if you have a new medication, a new procedure, a new instrument, all of that gets into the knowledge. Very important at the top layer is the knowledge from the coding guidelines of our customers. So we need to make sure that we convert, because it can be rules, it can be a document, it can be an Excel, it can be a if this, then this statements. We convert all of that into a knowledge representation, into graphical representation. So that is the filter that we use. So we make sure, and I'll skip a few slides there before I give it to Dr. Towers. Yeah. But it brings up a great question on vendor selection. So I'll just screen through that, because that will answer your question in the most effective manner. Typically, those of you who are from health plans, whenever you want to select a vendor, the typical way of doing is give them 200 charts, 300 charts, means do the BA, everything, give them charts and say, okay, give me the data, your codes back, because I have my coders who have a gold standard to this chart. We have the exact codes that have come out. And when you give us the data, we'll look at it and see what is your accuracy. Am I correct? Is there any other way people do it today? Mm-hmm. Right? 200 charts, give me the codes. I have already coded it. My coders have coded it. I know what the codes are. I'll do my accuracy scores. Now, if you give it to a vendor and say, okay, I'm giving you 3 weeks to do it, tell me one vendor, including us, who is going to just do it once and give it to you. Means we would be stupid to do that, right? I'm going to put my best coders on it. I'm going to have my best QAs on it. I'm going to have another QA on it, and then make sure it is highly accurate. So you have given it to 4 vendors. All of them give it back in 3-4 weeks and tell you that I'm at 98%, 99%, 94%, 96%, whatever. Now, what do you choose your vendor from? Again, the models, right? They say we are fine-tuning our models. And you are still confused. So now the only resort is who has the lowest price. Now tell me in our lives, and I'm very, very clear about it, where you have selected that, hey, the cheapest product is the best product. It's never the case. But in selecting a vendor, that's the only thing we are left with, because everything else looks the same. Their pitch is the same. Everybody talks about AI. Everybody talks about 98.5% accuracy. Everybody talks about the same thing. But the proof that you were looking for from this experiment also did not work out. So the alternative now, if you have a great, what a good company would do is they would say, okay, give us 50 charts. Give us 50 charts. Let us fine tune the engine with your guidelines. So we don't need the data. Nobody, nowadays if anybody comes and tells you they need your data to train their engine, they are already archaic. You don't need that. But they do need your guidelines, and they do need 50 charts to fine tune that guideline and put it inside. Once that is done, and give them 2 weeks. Give them 2 weeks. After them, throw 2,000 charts at them. Out of which 150 are the ones that your team has worked on. 1,850 are fictitious charts. Means you are not even going to touch it, but give them 2,000 and give them 8 hours. Say, give me the results back in 8 hours. Now, if their engine is fine-tuned, if their engine is truly working like it should, they should be able to run those 2,000 charts, give it to you in 8 hours. You should be able to pull out the 150 and do your accuracy on those. Now that will definitely differentiate between the vendor that you want to work with, or at least narrow down the vendors. And then say, okay, now let us look at pricing. In my eyes, means we also as vendors do a lot of procurement. And I have learned over the years, you give peanuts, you end up with monkeys. That's about it. So again, does that answer your question? On
Yeah, and now in addition to client guidelines, like, are you feeding in the latest coding plans?
yes,
All of that.
yes, those are all the knowledge representations that are required, including if there is a new procedure that has come in, or a procedure that is being modified by the provider. Everything gets converted into a knowledge representation, whatever is that. Absolutely. And I don't know about others, but we have about 3 million concepts and 50 million relationships in our knowledge graphs. These are the core understanding of healthcare. So, and that took us like 16 years to develop. So yes, absolutely. And that is going to differentiate, that, okay, does it work or does it not work? And even after that, if some knowledge is missing, we would surface it to the coder. Any questions? Because I'd like to hand it over to Dr. Towers at this point.
Thank you very much, Chetan. It's such a pleasure to see all these familiar faces in the audience. Thank you for coming. I have
Okay,
this
you
one.
have it.
Thanks. Let me make sure I know how to do this one. Well, a little bit about UPMC first. They call me a lifer. I've been there for probably close to 30 years now. And UPMC has grown exponentially. We are an integrated delivery system, so we have over 40 hospitals here in the United States. We have hospitals overseas. We have our own health plan, which has over 4 million members. And we also have UPMC Enterprises, which is our technology development wing. And I have the pleasure of working not only as a physician, but also at UPMC Enterprises to help with primarily their risk adjustment processes. And as you can see on the slide, UPMC is really committed to compliance and defensibility. And we have such volume that we really needed to find a tool. And we've been using NLP since 2008. So we did that first on the inpatient side, and then we moved to the outpatient side. So we're very familiar with NLP.
So I have the story why we were in 2009.
Oh, okay. There you go. You'll have to tell me that one.
I will.
Okay, great. So we're very embedded with NLP and its usefulness. We've seen it work, but now I am so excited to see the Neuro-Symbolic AI, and I hope to. There we go. So we did a proof of concept here at UPMC with nearly 47,000 charts or 100 members, and we chose dates of service from 2005 through 2024. And the AI was able to identify the 2023 and 24 dates of service for us. So then they used the Neuro-Symbolic AI on those charts, which is nearly 7,000 charts. And they were processed to identify the ICD codes, the HCCs, etc. And we gave them 48 hours to do this. And they finished it in 36 hours. And so we were very pleased, again, from an accuracy perspective, the accuracy of the Neuro-Symbolic AI increased by 26%. So that, to us, was quite an astounding accomplishment. So this was just that procedure that you had explained earlier. They did have our guidelines, but we only wanted to give them 48 hours. And they did it in a much shorter time frame. So looking at the accuracy, the tech-only accuracy was 93.5%, which is pretty good. I'd say that's darn good, maybe excellent. The efficiency for the coders, again, had increased significantly by 60 to 80%. I'm not going to go through all the numbers on the side, but you can see them. But for me, and I can see some familiar faces in the audience also smiling, we had great recall of 96%, but look at that precision, nearly 91%. That, to me, coming from the NLP world, is just unheard of. So this was tremendous, and we were very pleased with those results. But, of course, I asked for more. And so I'm a physician, and my primary job is to help other physicians succeed with risk adjustment. So AI can certainly help coders. It can help them find misdiagnoses and help them interpret the notes, etc. But it can't help the providers with their documentation unless we get it to them at the point of care. So really, AI has great potential. We call these missed opportunities, and we love to bring them to our providers. We had a wonderful coder education team, but we don't have CDI specialists who work hand in hand with them at the time that the providers are providing care. We have to go to them after the fact and give them this information. So for years, we would look at maybe the top 10 doctors who would be, the biggest offenders, and we would put a lot of energy out to try to improve their charting. But now we have the ability to get to all providers. I'm really so excited about this. So we do the chart review. You can look at what the AI says is ideal versus the current documentation. And that's the key, is that the AI has ideal documentation of how it should be documented for that code. And when there's a mismatch, we can identify that and give that back to the provider. So obviously the coder can't code it, but we have to get back to the provider so that they can then improve their documentation the next time around. And we can use those missed opportunity codes to, again, present to the provider at the point of care so that they are able to incorporate it in their next note. So again, going through that process, the AI drives the gap identification, and then once we get that information to the provider, we can give them a report. And sorry, I think I'm going to go one slide over. Here's an example of the reports. These are sort of the training dashboards, and this is just a quick screenshot of them, of what diagnoses that provider missed, what's the definition, what it should be, and then how they can fix it on their own. So again, this is unheard of for us. We've never really been able to generate that kind of a report for a provider. So this is, for me, a very exciting opportunity. We're going to go back just to look at some of the provider documentation that we all see and we all love with our providers. So in the first example, the provider had said in their assessment a chronic venous hypertension with an ulcer, but then what the plan only said was a wound care for the lower extremity lesion. So they didn't even identify where the lesion was, the depth of the lesion was, what kind of the lesion. So obviously it couldn't be coded, and that was that report that you saw on the prior slide of how it should have been documented. And just a couple of other examples, and we all know these with morbid obesity. If they only document a BMI and no diagnosis, even though the BMI is risk adjustable, the coding guidelines state you have to have a diagnosis to report that BMI. So that's why, again, it could not be coded. And the same is true for you. I can go on and on. I mean, I love the ones with COPD, and we talked about how in the past COPD was considered a chronic condition. It could never go away, but no, we have to document these things correctly. So this is the sort of feedback that providers have not gotten in a consistent way, in an actionable way, where they can actually see what's supposed to have been documented. And you already talked a little bit about this, but go ahead and we'll see.
I have a question, if you don't mind.
Sure. Yeah, please.
So on the provider training that you mentioned,
Yes.
These are some off use cases, right? How are they taking it, and how is the momentum building in terms of getting things back?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's still a bit early, so we are still experimenting with it. The most important thing, and Dr. Adele is a big proponent, is to make sure that we do it at the right time so that it does not disturb the provider workflow or their schedules. So it's still in the works.
So we do have a point of care solution, so that through our EMR vendor, who is Epic, they do present the diagnoses to the provider, so we can integrate with that. But it's these reports which are much more intriguing to us, and we're just starting.
Excellent. Open to questions. We do have about 6 minutes. PK.
I'm a former coding educator, and I know that as a coder, you can really only educate the provider on the guidelines and the concepts. But with this, neuro AI tool, you're also coaching the provider by doing.
Correct.
How have you seen providers become more receptive to the getting in more reps on coding accurately to improve documentation?
So again, in real life, it's still in the works, but the way the system is designed, so let us say when we do the risk adjustment, we find that the provider had got 500 patients, that one provider who were risk adjusted. We would identify the gaps and categorize those gaps and say, okay, these are the main deficiencies in the documentation. And based on those, first of all, it's the same example where the provider had made that error, so that the provider is very aware of their style of documentation. And now with the same example, bringing it very specifically to that provider, it helps them jog the memory. If we do not have enough examples, we can synthetically also develop examples. So our AI is able to do, because a lot of simulations we do is on synthetic data. So we are able to do that, which can also, but what we have seen is once you cross 100, 200 member mark or for each provider, you have ample evidences, because the mistakes are very repetitive. They don't make new mistakes, everything. Yeah. So, you know, it's just that at that point, you just need to help them cross that bridge and say, this is what is missing, and boom, it changes. Yes, please.
Here's an example. You have a provider billing inpatient services on professional claim. And often you're seeing a big disconnect between the facility claim, the diagnosis billed, and then you've got your professional providers not understanding that they can't bill on a certain diagnosis. And do you pull in the claim information, the bill type, the place of service, to add that into your feedback that is given to the provider to correct those types of errors?
That's a great question.
I am not the right person to answer that.
I mean,
Yeah.
if we have a claim, and again, with this process, that we notice that there's a discrepancy, that's what would get flagged. I mean, we do review the inpatient records as well. So, but you're talking about the professional bill, and as opposed to the inpatient claim. So yeah, no, but if there's a discrepancy, we can do that. Again, the Neuro AI should be able to pick up that that documentation did not support that code.
Thank you.
And that's the key, is that we have to remove those codes. I mean, I don't know if there's any OIG people here. God, I hope not. But, you know, because, oh gosh, I know they're here, right? They're coming. So yes, we're supposed to be removing them.
Right,
Mhm,
of course.
yeah.
Just thinking it's about.
But in terms of education, I love that. I have to focus on that. Mhm.
Tagging along to that question, right? So, I mean, Dr. Towers, this lot of these are new to us, right? In terms of adoption. Chetan, you talked about how fast LLMs are, and as we think about human component of this, right? Dr. Towers, how are you thinking about training your team in terms of validating these and adopting these? What are some best practices that you are putting together?
We're just starting this process. So again, I think that I would welcome anybody else's input on this, because this is something we haven't been able to do. And maybe next year we'll come back and tell you how it worked out.
Yeah, very, very good. Yeah.
Yeah, one thing I think, just to comment, one thing I've seen is specifically on the OIG conditions and at-risk conditions being removed right away, right? Mm-hmm. Right triggers to be removed right away at the point of care. Whatever the integration tool you're using, whether it's Epic, Cerner, you name it. That's something that I've seen as a best practice across the nation, because as RAAPID catches up, and it's time to get more remove those prospectively rather than doing a lot of them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we do that already. We've been doing that for several years, yeah, to remove them.
Yeah, but with quite a few of our clients, we have seen that we are able to catch the 7 𝘁𝗔𝐶 criteria for OIG very effectively. But it's all after the fact. So I love the idea that if we can bring it at the point of care, nothing like it.
Thanks. Any other questions from the audience? This has been a fantastic conversation.
Thank you.
Give an applause for Dr.
Thank
Towers.
you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I don't want to leave you in suspense. The story why we came out in 2009. So there was a university by the name of Columbia University. They had developed an NLP program by the name of Medley.
Yeah.
And in 2008, we started evaluating it. We licensed it. And they pulled back the license because the master licensor did something funky. And so we were set back, lost $50,000 in it. And we were told that that's it. When we give it to somebody else, you can license it from them. And I said, no, we are going to develop our own NLP. That eventually became 𝘁𝗵𝗿𝗀.
Good story.
So that's the story.
Good story.
That's why we are 1 year late.
Yeah.
With that, we'll wrap up, guys.
Thank
you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
quick
Background.
comment towards the end. Please rate the session in your app for feedback, and then the next keynote section is going to happen soon. Thank you for joining, everybody. Have a great evening, and see you all tomorrow. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dr. Towers, thank you so very much.